I'm Craig Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. Work with me and you'll get professional help on your situation. And if you're in no contact, focused on personal growth, my workbook series, The Knowledge, will help you make changes like you've never made before. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And in this video, we're going to be talking to you about when you shouldn't take your ex back.
Don't do it. Before we get into it, I did want to say that Craig and I are available for coaching sessions. So if you would like to talk about your situation one-on-one with one of us, you can go to the website and book from there.
You know, sometimes when we get attached to somebody, we don't see things clearly, and we wind up getting and staying with somebody who's abusive or neglectful or cruel and really manipulative, selfish, all kinds of things. We always want you guys to be in a situation where you're treated relatively good. Now, not everybody's going to be perfect.
Right.
We're going to make our mistakes, but we want somebody who's going to be ultimately good for you and make your life better. You know, we don't want to see you putting yourself in situations where you're being treated terribly, but sometimes that happens.
And sometimes we fall in love with the potential that a person has rather than what they're actually bringing to the table.
Yeah, I think I see that a lot more often than with women too. With guys, they fall in love with these guys' potential. What do you think about that?
I agree. I see that a lot more in women, typically, in those heterosexual types of relationships. You see it sometimes with men too. A lot of times people will either have this caregiving complex or a rescuer complex. Those are the two things that I see most often when they're seeing someone who's not quite showing up in the relationship, but they think, well, if I just give enough, if I just do enough, if I just care for this person enough or save this person, then things will be different. And they end up signing themselves up for a lot of mistreatment.
Yeah.
That's just what I typically see.
So we've got an email coaching today that's going to be pretty tough. Not for our client here, but for the guy who was in the situation who was pretty awful to her. So let's see if Coach Victoria's eyes turn red and she becomes a Sith Lord.
I don't know what that is, but yeah.
It's so sad. You see what I'm dealing with? Do you see what I have? She doesn't even know what a Sith Lord is when I'm sitting here in my Star Wars underwears right now. It's embarrassing. Not for me, for you. The Star Wars underwear is fine.
It depends on who you ask.
No, but I know you're going to get upset at this guy, and you can go ahead. I know you want to roast. She hasn't seen the email yet. Yeah. You did see a little bit of it, just a little smidge of it, but you don't know what's coming yet.
And it's hard, because we see a lot of different situations, and we're typically objective, right? But we're human beings with emotions too. So when I see somebody being mistreated, it causes a reaction. And you all might have a reaction just listening to this too. So
yeah. All right. So let's give her a nickname. Give me a name.
How about Jennifer? How
about Padme, since you don't know who that is?
All right.
For my own amusement. This is Padme. She says, this is Padme. And first of all, I want to express my deepest thanks to you, Victoria and Margaret, for all your hard work. Your videos and workbooks have been incredibly helpful, and I can't express how grateful I am. Thank you so much for the kind words. We always appreciate that, right? Nice to hear that from Padme. You're like, what is a Padme?
I'm going to Google it after this.
My story is a bit different from what I've seen in the videos, and I'd love to hear your opinion and advice about it. Here is a bit of our background. I'm in my early 30s, and I moved to Europe several years ago for work. I've been in therapy for a couple of years due to separation anxiety and fear of abandonment stemming from my early childhood. Though I've gained more awareness, I still sometimes lose emotional self-control in relationships. My partner is from South Africa, and he has a child from a previous relationship that ended about 6 months before our relationship. Okay, so that obviously complicates things. Now, well, let's just read it. So instead of explaining it. It was a toxic relationship, and they stayed together mainly for the child. After moving to my country in the springtime of last year, they separated in the fall of last year, and his ex and son moved back to South America. We met on Tinder early this year, as he lives just a few minutes away from me. Things started out strong between us, meeting several times a week and falling for each other really quickly.
I just want to know, it sounded like the dates that she had given for how old the child is and how long that relationship was, it seemed like the child may have come first.
Oh, okay.
So they might have gotten into the relationship because of the child.
You mean the ex?
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Just to put that into context, is what it seems like to me.
Okay. 2 weeks into dating, he got overwhelmed and wanted to meet less, a whole 2 weeks in, and he's already overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. Though I felt anxious, I accepted it. The very next day, I found out I was pregnant. Okay, remember, she's only been dating this guy for 2 weeks?
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. We decided not to keep it. He promised to support me and accompany me to the clinic, but canceled an hour beforehand, saying he was sick. Your eyes, I saw a little yellow flicker in your eyes. Yellow and red is coming out.
And regardless of your stance on this, he had promised to be there for her during a very difficult decision, and last minute he did not.
Yeah, that's the point.
Regardless of whether he had known this person for 2 weeks or 2 decades, this was a difficult decision for her, and in the very least, being there with her. This is something that they are both in together.
They both made this decision together, or, to not protect themselves properly, or whatever happened there. I don't know. But yes, they both did this, so he should be there for her. I mean, she would need a ride home.
Yeah.
Right? It's going to get worse. I stayed calm and told him to rest. She's telling him to rest. She's more worried about how he feels, and he's clearly lying about being sick. There's no doubt he's lying about being sick.
And
is
even
there
if
any
he
doubt?
is, right? Wear a mask.
Yeah. Hold on.
Come in a hazmat suit.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not right.
Yeah.
I told him the rest so he could be there for me later, but he wasn't. So she already let him off the hook. He barely visited me during the most difficult time of my life, leaving me to face the trauma on my own. I was hurt and voiced my feelings, and eventually he tried to make amends. As I began to heal, we planned a city trip to reconnect. I don't know why she took him back already. I mean, she should have just left him after that. That was bad enough.
Yeah.
But it turned into a disaster, the trip. Okay? It's already a disaster, but it's already turning into another disaster. So mind you, they've only been dating for 3 weeks at this point, right? He refused any physical contact, leaving me feeling ugly and insecure, despite usually being confident about my looks. He mocked my English and tried to trip me up as a joke. He even abandoned me on the streets during an argument, then sat separately on the train back home. I can feel your anger.
Abandon her in the
Let the hate
street.
flow through you. Give in to your anger.
We don't have all the context here for what the argument was or whatever might have happened, but it seems like he's not handling this well at all.
No, this is terrible. My Palpatine is good, though. That's a good Palpatine. You're like, what's a Palpatine? So far, you've got a Padme and a Palpatine, and you don't know what I'm talking about.
Google a lot of things after this.
There were other issues, too. He drank and smoked a lot, disappeared for 3 days after an argument, then told me he was moving to the U.S. for a job. He even lied about going to a party. Still, I kept holding on. I could hear her sighing behind me. Hoping things would improve, justifying his behavior by blaming his past traumas and his ex.
All right, empaths. Listen up. We understand that you can empathize and understand your ex's trauma and what had led them to their behaviors. It does not make it okay.
No.
And this is something that I think maybe we should talk about more. We talk a lot about how trauma affects attachment styles, how attachment styles affect behavior, how a lot of times hurt people, and these behaviors come from a place of pain. However, we also have to protect ourselves. You know, when we're seeing these patterns of behavior, they don't magically change on their own. If this was somebody who had been in therapy, if this is somebody who, you know, was having these deep conversations with her and showing some signs that change was on the horizon, then my reaction would be a little bit different. Okay, things are at a rocky start, but we are all human. We all do make mistakes. Everyone has different limits. We understand that. At this point, I'm not seeing much of an effort on his end to really change things or show up for you differently. Granted, it's only been a month. However,
all of this has happened in a month. Can you believe that?
However, in the beginning is when somebody typically wants to impress you the most.
If this is his best behavior, can you imagine his worst?
Yeah.
All right, let's keep going. Eventually, I had enough and broke things off. That's great. That's what we want. In a situation like this has been pretty horrible so far. It felt like he was punishing me for what happened with his ex, treating me as an emotional punching bag. I knew it was too soon for him to date, but he kept insisting he wanted something serious with me. In the spring, he went back home to visit his family and finally reunited with his son. He told his parents about us, and his mom was furious, sending him to therapy. It's probably about 20 years too late for this guy. He should have been in therapy a long time ago. When he returned, he flooded me with messages, wanting to start over. But then his therapist advised him to take a break from dating. I don't think he's telling the truth. I don't think the therapist advised him to do that. You know, we're coaching, okay? This is coaching. What we do now on the channel is different than what we would do if we were working with somebody as a therapist locally, right?
Right.
This is a different dynamic, right? When you're coming to us for coaching, we have a therapeutic approach, and we obviously understand all that, but we're also trying to coach you and give you answers to be successful.
Right.
But a therapist isn't really supposed to do that, right?
Right. They're not as encouraged to give advice. It's more about guiding someone, facilitating conversations, using certain techniques to get the client where they need to be. Now, he did say that he is from a different country, and different countries have different regulations. Some have no regulations at all. So we're not sure what that therapy looks like. You know, what I'm hoping is that he's getting some good support. He's able to really get to the core of some of his issues and understand them better. I'm curious if a therapist did tell him that, why they might have told him that, and also what his reason for having that break from dating is. It sounds like he's not treating her well.
No,
so
I
maybe
think
it's
he's lying.
for the best that he's not having, that he is having a break from dating. But yeah, a lot of accountability at this point needs to be taken here.
I think he's lying. I think he's just looking for an excuse to get out of it.
It's possible.
I was heartbroken again. 2 weeks later, I found out he was back on Tinder.
What is up with these 2 weeks?
Well, think about it. He just says to her, my therapist told me that I shouldn't be dating. And then 2 weeks later, he's on Tinder? Of course he was lying.
Everything is 2 weeks, you know. 2 weeks dating, things got set into motion.
Yeah.
Now, 2 weeks after they broke up, he's dating again.
That pushed me to my limit. I told him it was over for good, blocking him everywhere. Determined to move on, in July, I started dating a new guy. Let's call him Anakin.
Okay.
Just to drive you crazy.
I'm going to Google that after this.
He was perfect. Oh, this doesn't sound like Anakin. Let's call him Obi-Wan. He was perfect, kind, respectful, everything I wanted. But there was a lack of chemistry compared to my ex, despite all the hurt he'd caused. The connection I felt with my ex was inexplicable. I tried to force myself to feel more for Obi-Wan, but it wasn't fair to either of us. I ended things with him not wanting to lead him on. See, she's thoughtful. She sees that it's not there. She's hoping to have feelings for this guy, but he's probably, quote unquote, too nice, right? 2 days after the breakup, I ran into my ex for the first time in 3.5 months. It felt like a cruel joke from the universe. Both of us were shocked. I could barely speak. He described it as love at first sight. More like toxicity at crack at first injection or something like that. Heroin at first injection.
Yeah, and I think it's important to differentiate feelings, the emotions that come up, to if this person is a healthy partner, somebody who could make it work.
You can tell how little I know about crack that I'm saying we're going to inject it. you smoke it, right? You don't know?
I don't.
I thought you did. That's why I asked. I wasn't asking rhetorically. I thought you literally smoked it. You smoke it, right?
So, I mean, you have to be able to differentiate the feelings that come up to practically, does this person have the skills? Does this person treat me well? And also, I would encourage her to explore that type of connection with this person, because sometimes there can be a trauma bond where you have a lot of ups and downs with the person, and you feel a lot more connected to them because of going through those experiences that they have manufactured.
Yeah.
Right? And so it can feel a lot more intense. It can feel more like love, especially if you've had some chaos growing up yourself. So just because you feel strongly about something doesn't mean that it's the right thing for you or meant to be for the future, or that this person or you has those skills for a healthy relationship.
All right, let's keep going. He asked to meet again, and this time I agreed. He apologized for everything he had done, acknowledging his absence during the abortion and promising to do better. He admitted his quote-unquote jokes were his way of showing affection. I don't believe that. But he now understood my boundaries and didn't want to hurt me more. I don't believe that either. He said he tried dating other women, but still had feelings for me, which is why he kept reaching out. Despite my skepticism, I'd secretly been hoping for a fresh start with him, so I said yes. After that, I flew home to visit my family for 3 weeks. During this time, things seemed to improve. He made an effort to meet my communication needs, but my gut kept telling me that something was off. Always trust your gut. He frequently said he was busy, tired, or not good at texting, making me feel like I was forcing him to care. Then he forgot my birthday, despite my hints in the days leading up to it. It felt like a test, and he failed, not even knowing how old I was after 6 months of dating. Ooh. We knew how old she was at the start of the video. I lost control and sent him long messages about how hurt I was, eventually blocking him because that's how I react when I feel deeply hurt. Later, I calmed down and asked him how he saw our relationship. How could he claim to care about me but act like I wasn't important? That's a great question. Mm-hmm. When he didn't respond for hours, my anxiety took over, and I blocked him again. It felt like he was upset with me, even though I was the one being mistreated. Now I'm feeling confused about the entire situation. On one hand, I believe he wants me, and he talks about wanting to be a power couple.
What in his behavior gives you power couple? None of that gives me power couple.
No, you know? There's nothing powerful about this guy. Oh my gosh, he's so incredibly insecure and selfish and self-absorbed. Oh man, it's unbelievable. This guy is living in a complete fantasy world.
Yeah. And sometimes people who are very on the extreme scale of avoidant, not saying that this is him, but it's a possibility, will have these ideas of what they want the relationship to look like, but no real skills to make that happen. We see this a lot with avoidants. Oh, I want to have a family one day. I want to get married one day. But nothing in their behavior is pointing in that direction. So what she's saying, she's asking very important questions. Mm-hmm. You know, why doesn't his behaviors add up to what he's telling you, to his words?
Yeah.
No, I think those are important questions to ask.
Well, if you thought Victoria wasn't angry yet, I think we're gonna find the tipping point right here.
Oh gosh.
Don't read it.
Oh gosh.
Okay, you look straight ahead. I'm gonna read it to you. Okay.
All right. I'm listening.
Okay. On the other hand, on one hand, I believe he wants me, and he talks about wanting me to be us to be a power couple, and even asked. Are you ready? Even asked if I consider having a baby with him one day. The audacity of this man, who literally didn't take her to the clinic when he promised to be there for her. And now he's saying, I want to have a baby with you, after all the things he's done to her already.
Wow. I wish I could just repeat what I had just said. Sometimes people will have these ideas of having a family, having kids, all of these things, but they're not aware of what it takes. And that's what I'm seeing in this person. It also seems to me, as I'm hearing more and more of the story, that he is telling her what she wants to hear.
Sure, I agree. Shall we continue?
Mm-hmm.
Give in to your anger.
I'm ready. I can handle it.
On the other hand, his actions don't match his words. He's hot and cold, and I don't feel like I'm important to him. No, he's not treating you that way either. It's a painful cycle. Things are okay for a while, then he does something hurtful. I send long messages explaining how I feel, block him, and then he comes back with promises of change. And then it starts all over again. I'm not sure if I'm being impatient and need to give him more time to heal from his past, or if he's simply playing me because I'm convenient. Will he ever respect me after this? How do I break free from it? Or is it leaving my only choice here? I feel completely lost, and I don't know how to handle this. Even after watching almost all your videos, my emotions are clouding my judgment, and I'd really appreciate your wisdom and objective advice on this situation. Thank you so much in advance. Wishing you all the best.
Now, she had just described the cycle of abuse.
Yeah.
Somebody mistreating you, you having a reaction, and then the sorries come in, that I'll do better, I promise this won't happen again, and then it happens again. And so if I were her, I'd be super hesitant about continuing this, and she has to do something different to break this cycle. You know, it's hard not to get sucked in. It sounds like this person is a charmer. It sounds like this person knows what you want to hear. It sounds like this person is giving you enough for you to keep hanging on. And I would really challenge your thinking about this. I would really sit down and write out what's actually happening, what's actually been his behavior in the relationship versus what you think the potential is and what you think he might be like when he's healed. I'm not seeing much actionable change here on his part.
You're being very kind.
I am.
I feel like you're going to go into the rage when this one is over.
Someone's trauma and someone's attachment style even is not an excuse for them to mistreat you.
No, this is horrible. Mm-hmm. What he's done to her is absolutely horrible from the beginning, okay? He's very selfish, self-absorbed. He's cruel. He's manipulative. He is the poster boy for don't take your ex back. Mm-hmm. Literally, we're going to get his picture and we're going to put him on the website. If this is your ex, there should be posters of him all around their city that says, warning, do not date this man. Okay?
Really?
Yeah, but I mean, he's been so cruel to her. Mm. And, you know, my heart goes out to her. I hate seeing somebody get hurt and manipulated like this. Yeah. But you deserve a lot better than this. You know, he's played upon that you're caring and your feelings for him. And that's just cruel. Mm-hmm. I think that you got to get angry enough to say, I deserve better. And that is how you're going to move on. And you did, because she did break up with him previously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because she finally got fed up of not feeling like she was cared about. Mm-hmm. And I think she did the right thing. But then she felt bad or sad or guilty or thought, because it didn't work out with Obi-Wan, oh, I should go back to him.
And the key words here are my emotions are clouding my judgment.
Yeah.
You know, I wonder if digging through that, there are some core beliefs of me and him belong together. Because I feel so intensely, that means this has to happen, or I need to pursue this. You know, so I would be dissecting some of those things and challenging some of those things. Do I think that you can find a partner who you can feel intensely for with some healing out there in the world that will treat you much, much better? Yes, absolutely, without a doubt. And if you knew that there were tens of thousands of people out there who would be willing to treat you very well, you know, show up for you, be attentive, you know, you wouldn't have to ask or feel like you're begging for someone's attention, would that change the way you view the situation? I know there's part of that emotional intensity that's keeping you hooked, but that emotional intensity can be cultivated, and you have to weigh things out. You know, you might feel emotionally intense for him now. Those things wax and wane, but how he treats you and the patterns of his behavior are much more long-standing.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting because she was surprised by my email coaching response to her and how I was pointing out how terribly he had been. And she said that really hit home, hearing that from you. You know, sometimes people need to get feedback from a source that they trust, like us. Hearing it makes them say, oh my gosh, this wasn't my fault. This isn't because I was pressuring too much. He was saying, maybe I pressured him too much. Maybe I wasn't forgiving him enough of his attachment issues. Blaming herself. So it was a real eye-opener for her. And I think that's going to make it a lot easier for her to move on, you know, and give her peace. So sometimes finding out that the person isn't right for you brings us tremendous amounts of peace too.
Right. I'm hopeful for her. I'm a hopeful person. I say this all the time. I am a very hopeful person.
Are you hopeful for him too?
Not so much. No. I'm hoping. My hope for him is that he does really get the help that he needs and that he's able to make some real change in his life and stop hurting people.
Yeah.
That's my hope for him. My hope for her is that she's able to get to a place where she's confident enough to know that she's going to be okay without this relationship, to where she becomes emotionally healed enough to be able to have strong emotions for someone who treats her so well. That's my hope.
Yep. All right. There's a lot to this one, but hopefully this one was helpful to you. And of course, if you want to get our help personally, you can do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Skype. Coach Victoria is also available for Skype coaching.
I'm here whenever you'd like to chat.
Just click on her name at the top of the website to schedule with her. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And we will talk with you soon.